lack of honesty with kindness is manipulation, and kindness with honesty is integrity. And so having to realize that if I'm not being honest with someone, I'm not giving them tough feedback because I don't want them to think I'm mean, I'm actually not doing what's right by them.
Clementine Munro, Sales Director at House. Welcome to the Rebel Agent podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've had a tremendous career thus far. I'm looking forward to getting into that and plenty of other things, but maybe you'd like to introduce yourself and we'll take it from there.
Thank you. So my name is Clementine. I've been here for 12 years, which feels like quite a long time now in terms of Dubai real estate, but 12 years, one husband, 2 children, 2 dogs, a few different companies during that time, but happily settled now at House.
You've got a very young family, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So 3.5 and 18 months.
Really? Yeah. So you're at House now. We'll get into House, but where did you start when you came over to Dubai?
So it all started at Knight Frank. So it was back in 2012, and a huge part of their business at the time was something called international residential development sales. And it was roadshows. So it was advertising in Gulf News, advertising in the local papers, putting, a lot of kind of lead gen that you would see now, so digital lead gen, and driving people to hotels where you'd have big light boxes promoting mostly London residential developments and then selling them to locals. So moving money from this part of the world outward back into residential.
Yeah, at that time that made sense, didn't it? Because the hot market was London.
Yeah.
And how did you sort of get that job? Well, let's just go back a little bit further. You're from London.
Yeah.
Did you study first before you came out, or?
So I'd gone to university. In fact, I was a pretty straight A, B student most of my life. I'd gone to university. I had left university, and my mum had said, okay, if you leave, that's fine, but I'm not giving you another penny. You know, my love for you doesn't stop, but my money for you stops. And I said, yeah, fair enough. And I got a job. And this is going to sound dumb, but obviously the more hours you work, the more money you get. So I started working kind of 60, 70 hour weeks, which you can do when you're 18 because you have unlimited energy. And I just started making lots of money as a young person. I realized that working was great and never stopped.
And what line of work was that?
Purely hospitality. So nothing more glamorous than, I collected glasses. I was a waitress, restaurant, bar. But I did work my way up to being kind of in a hospitality group. And I actually thought hospitality I did consider going back into education to go to something like hotel school. I did think hospitality would be a route that I would continue with. But I'm so happy that it's real estate.
Yeah, and that work ethic has carried on, hasn't it? And that's fantastic. So how did you get the job at Knight Frank?
Well, that was pure nepotism. That wasn't work ethic. I was desperate to come out to Dubai because my now husband had said to me that he was coming out to Dubai. And he'd said, please come along. But of course, I wasn't really qualified to do anything. And certainly you wouldn't work in hospitality in Dubai. I think now maybe you would. You see some restaurant managers and things being from the UK. But so my brother-in-law worked for Knight Frank in ResDev, but he was in the land acquisition and disposal team. And he knew someone out in Dubai. And I said, okay, I'll come for free. I'll do anything you want. And I did do a free internship for 3 months before I secured myself my first permanent role.
So you did that in Dubai with Knight Frank, and then they offered you a position.
Yeah.
So it might have been a family thing, but at the same time, obviously they saw something in you.
I think, I've always been very conscious. People hear my accent and people just think I'm posh and privileged and therefore I've never worked hard a day in my life. And so I suppose I've always gone into things with that thing to prove. That I'll just be harder working than anyone else in the room. And I think that's pretty much probably what's got me to where I am today.
Brilliant. Yeah. How long were you at Knight Frank?
So actually that time, only a year before I was made redundant, the market shifted in the UK in terms of the appetite to invest. So then I went and did local residential for 3 years before being re-recruited by Knight Frank, where I then stayed for another 4 years.
Great. And then you moved on to
Savills. So I went to their competitor at the time. So Savills was starting up the service line. Cluttons had acquired Savills. The other way around, sorry. Savills had acquired Cluttons in June, I believe, of 2015. And they were fully branded as of January 2016 as Savills in the region. And they headhunted me to go and set up the international residential division for them, which is what I did.
So you were selling foreign property to people in Dubai again?
Exactly. But actually I had a Gulf remit. So a lot of it was traveling. So every week on a plane, and I looked after Northern Saudi, Kuwait, and the UAE. But I'd spent lots of time in Egypt and Jeddah and all over the Gulf.
Yeah. Did you enjoy that?
There were some incredible moments. I spoke at the British Embassy in Egypt to a couple of hundred people, which was pretty special to be on the Nile and be in a building of that significance. And speaking on something that I was passionate about and representing a brand.
Were you using your Arabic then?
I was using my Arabic
Wow.
then. I did a little introduction, certainly, not the whole thing. But there was some...
But that is just going to be such an icebreaker, isn't it, for them? It's a great start, an English girl speaking Arabic.
Definitely. And I think, traveling the region as I did and getting to spend time in Kuwaiti homes and, Saudi living rooms, you really get a much better sense of where you are in the world and a much better sense of actually the values of the region. And I think that has definitely grown my love for the region. I think this is a bit of a tangent, but I think there's a lot of people come to Dubai to take and see what they can get from Dubai.
Yeah.
And I think spending so much time experiencing Middle Eastern hospitality, obviously speaking the language and being in some really incredible places, it gives you a much, much deeper sense of respect for where you are in the world and what this incredible landscape has to offer people, not in terms of money, but in terms of family values and in terms of work ethic, in terms of vision.
Yeah. It just broadens your horizons, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And, so was it from there you went on to Espace?
Yes, exactly. So I had my first child by then, and we'd survived COVID by then, and certainly appetite to travel was limited. And the developers in the UK were the ones who were paying for all of this for us to travel and talk about their product. And their appetite to spend had dried up. And I knew John Lyons of Espace socially, and a few of their management actually. And yes, they offered me an opportunity to rejoin the local market.
Yeah. And what position did you go in?
So I there was head of apartment sales.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd started moving up the ranks then in seniority, hadn't you?
Yes. Yeah.
And were you doing sales as well?
No, I was doing no sales.
Right.
So it was interesting. It was the first time as well I stepped away from sales and just did full-time management.
Yeah. And that worked out okay. Because if you look at it, quite often within these companies, you got the management level, but the brokers below, if it is below, are earning more money because there's so much to be earned potentially. But I suppose at management level, you're guaranteed that income, aren't you?
Definitely. And there's the trade-off, right? How do you get great managers? If they're so good at if they're so good at their job, they'd probably still be broking.
Yeah.
But there's also many factors that form the decision-making. And I think at that point, I had about 10 years experience. I'd done a lot of selling, a lot of traveling, a lot of front-end, client management. And I was genuinely happy to switch into a different pace. But yeah, you do see, you see that happen.
Yeah, that's true. So what you're saying is right. But if you look at the UK and estate agencies back there, if you do move up the ranks, you'll probably earn more money, won't you?
Yeah.
Because the brokers just don't earn the same. So it's an easier transition in a way. But for people that have sort of ticked that box, maybe a little bit tired of the traveling or doing the viewings or everything or the hassle that goes with being a broker, moving up to management does make sense, I guess.
And also a company where House has done so well is what I would say the top agencies are recognizing is that if you want to encourage people to join management, you need to pay really handsomely to get that experience leading your sales team.
Yeah.
And so that's where House does have these very generous overrides for their team managers, allowing people who should just broker to stay brokering, but definitely making it as lucrative for people who are excellent at management to step into that management role. So I've managed to find the sweet spot now where I don't feel I'm missing out financially, but I'm getting to do what I love, which is management.
I won't push you too much on the finances, but you get an override, do you?
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. So an override of the team performance. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what made you want to leave Espace and move on to House?
I think it was actually very serendipitous that I met House. I was leaving Espace for another opportunity, and that was purely because the job that I wanted, or the job that I had aspirations for, was already filled at Espace by someone who was excellent at that job. So I had aspirations to be the sales director or MD, and those roles were both filled at Espace. So it's nothing more.
That's a good answer.
Well, no, but I wish it was.
I'm sure it's true.
It's nothing more juicy than that, literally. And so they wished me well off into an opportunity that I'd secured, which was for a sales director role of a smaller company. But the brilliant Naomi found out that Naomi Slackman, she's going to kill me for saying that, found out that I was a free agent when I had been exited from all of the WhatsApp groups at Espace.
Clever. Good recruitment girl.
And House gave me a call.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, they obviously had seen you in the market, headhunted you really, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to getting into House more. But now you've got it. How many in your specific team at... So
I'm at about 60 in my team at House.
Really?
Yeah.
60 agents. How would you describe your leadership style?
I hope authentic.
Yeah.
Quite joyful. And pretty on it, I would say.
Yeah. Because I look at you and I think you're sort of a bundle of fun. You're a lovely person. Do you find it difficult to sort of kick ass, for want of a better word, where you need to?
I think we all have strengths and weaknesses. And one of the things, probably an area that I've had to grow in over the last few years, is being more direct and having those tough conversations. The two things that have probably got me thus far is been that I am naturally pretty joyful and that I've always had the knowledge, right? So I haven't had to do that many harder conversations leading smaller teams. But as I've grown to lead a bigger team, I've definitely had to get support from people. So Charlie Bannon, massively inspirational. And I will spend a lot of time saying, hey, I've got to do this. This is my thoughts. What do you think? And he'll coach me through that.
He's there to support you.
Yeah.
And
then podcasts, like Kim Scott's got an incredible podcast called Radical Candor. It's also a book. She's really helped me lean into just giving feedback immediately. It was my natural tendency to want to write it down, digest it, make it more palatable, wait for a one-to-one, and then, bring up something that had happened 3 days ago or 3 weeks ago. And I think just learning to lean in. And also I think there's a great quote that I love, which is, honesty without kindness is cruelty.
Yes.
Lack of honesty with kindness is manipulation, and kindness with honesty is integrity. And so having to realize that if I'm not being honest with someone, I'm not giving them tough feedback because I don't want them to think I'm mean, I'm actually not doing what's right by them. I'm manipulating it so that I come across more favorably.
100%.
And the reality is what I'm employed to do and what I'm proud of doing is leading strong, able teams. And so with that, I need to get good at delivering feedback.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That was of interest to me. And you also believe in continuous learning, don't you?
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
That's a very, I believe, unique to House trait as well. Is I arrived, thinking I was pretty clued up, listened to the occasional, and I come in and, I'm surrounded by other amazing leaders, Tom Paulson, Harrison Rackenbeadle, these, my peers, but they're, just read this and just finished this and I'm listening to this and, I'm watching this because I couldn't really understand it on Audible. And I'm like, what? And, so I feel like I'm on an MBA or doing a master's. My reading list has gone up tremendously. And also I think what House is very good at saying, it's not just if you want to do it. I want to be the best. I want to master it, but it's about discipline. So when I'm in the car, I'm only listening to that kind of thing now. And in the morning, I listen to music when I'm getting ready. But I think having that discipline to know that it's about mastering your craft and not taking your foot off the gas just because you'd rather be doing something else.
Yeah. Do you find the music in the morning just gets the mindset right, gets you into the right mentality for the day?
Yeah. And I guess sometimes my kids,
I do that.
My kids come in as well. So then I have like a little boogie with them.
Yeah, it's nice time with them. Because I would imagine with the hours that you do, it does limit a little bit of the time that you have with them.
Yeah, that's the downside, I guess, in inverted commas.
But you do have time with them, weekends, mornings. And yeah, that's great. Let's get into House then.
Yeah.
Why have they been so successful in your opinion?
Probably one of the most important things is that we have this internal facing set of values. So you won't find them on our website, but you stop any person who's ever worked or does work at House what the values are, and they'll tell you what these values are. Simply put, we work in work. So we do not have PlayStations, pool tables, breakout areas. That's not what we're there to do.
That's interesting.
When we're
You've
in
got
work,
a coffee shop, haven't you?
we do have a coffee shop, and
Very nice
the
coffee.
space is highly curated and beautiful, so that if you don't like working in your desk, you can pop off, but they're not for recreational time. They're to make you even more, I suppose, worky and work.
Yeah.
And I think that's very different to a lot of real estate companies now that are promoting different recreational activities in their space. So maybe barbershops or pool tables or, and House and House isn't about that. So when we're working, we're in work. But when we're playing, you're in play. So when you're out of work, by all means, have really healthy breaks. But when you're in work, you're working. We listen and learn. We're positive and proactive. We do what we say. And we obsess over our customers.
Yes.
So that's probably one of the biggest things, is that House and House will always put the customer first, even if it meant losing money as a business or not doing a deal. Yeah, just a highly principled. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just want to touch on that pool tables, ping pong, all that sort of stuff. My theory on that is the likes of Google do it, or Facebook, and that, but they dominate the market. They're in a position where they can afford to do it. They're hugely profitable companies. And so they do it, and that's all fine. And then you get other businesses copy it. It's not right for them. It doesn't surprise me that the House and House, it's been worked out, actually, this is a place to work. Mm-hmm. Don't try and merge the two. Yeah, that's interesting. House and House sort of started at a good time, I would say, where those three founders got together. The story that I was told, they sat on a table together at Allsop and Allsop. Well, there were four of them. And I just think I feel so sorry for the fourth guy. Because if he sort of looks at it now and think, God, I could have been part of that. And how many agents have you got now?
So, well, our headcount as a company is north of 500 now.
Yeah.
But that's across the board. But
that's growing exponentially, because you've got a huge marketing department, haven't you?
Yeah, we do. And actually a really very strong leadership team as well. Yeah. So I'd say that's also unique, is the breadth of leadership team and how vital still the owners all play such a significant part in the business. They're so present, they're so available, and all massively unique in the qualities that they bring to the business. But very harmonious in the way they make decisions, and the way you feel as an employee of theirs. You really feel that all of them are available to you as well.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that corporate-y, and yet it is up to a point which it needs to be because of its size. I think you put out a post on LinkedIn with coffee groups or something. That was really good, where you're trying to make it small again.
Yeah.
And be in teams, which is that's really good. Let's talk a little bit about the market. So which areas do you cover as a sales director?
So I cover kind of everything west, probably, beach facing of the Emirates Road. So that starts towards Abu Dhabi. You've got Al Fajjan. Within it, you've got Marouge, Talal Al Fajjan, the Jebel Ali Villas, and I've got Jumeirah Park, JVT, Meadows Lake Springs, Jumeirah Islands, Dubai Hills, Mohammed bin Rashid. Yeah. And the Valley now as well. Right.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you particularly like? What's particularly selling well at the moment?
What's selling well? I think what's really exciting is being the market share that we have in a lot of communities now. So 46% market share of JVT villas.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, we've gained 100% market share in Meadows Lake Springs. Just a testament, I think, to how well the team have been servicing the customers over the life cycle of the customers in those communities. So starting with leasing, then placing families in Springs homes, Meadows, Lakes. We've doubled our market share in these communities in the last year alone. Yeah. And then tapping into communities like Al Barari, Jumeirah Islands communities, where we haven't always been legacy brokers, but due to having brilliant agents come in, that we've managed to make great strides in taking market share there as well.
And there are certain areas you don't like to do, isn't it? You do focus on certain areas that you believe in.
I don't know. I think
maybe I'm thinking more off plan there.
Yes, I think there might be developers that we have better.
If it's ready now, it's fair game, isn't it?
If it's ready now and it's fair game. And also I think we just try and be strategic about what are the areas we'd like to grow in, what's the business case for growing in those areas, what's the transaction volume to support the number of brokers going in, And then so long as all of that makes sense, and we'll absolutely proceed and place a team in that area.
Yeah. And then with the off plan, I mean, I love watching the Paul and Stephen podcast.
So good.
And the advice they give is incredible. I think the thing that really stood out for me quite recently, they were talking about the off plan and units coming available over the next 3 years. And 79% of the units coming available over the next 3 years are either studios or 1-bedroom apartments, which in my mind just leaves this huge opportunity for townhouse, 3 and 4-bedroom apartments mainly, maybe, but especially townhouses and villas. Do you agree with that? Do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
For anybody investing now, if you're an end user, you're on your own, or there's just a couple and you want to buy an apartment, fine. But if you're thinking about investment, whether you're going to live in it or it's something you're going to rent out in the future or flip or whatever, townhouses and villas are a much better option.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we see still propping up the demand in so many of these townhouse communities, where the pricing has got pretty astronomical, and a lot of potential purchasers who have maybe been missed out saying, but who's still buying? And the reality is there is still huge demand for townhouse and villa product. Yeah.
And you look at so many people moving to Dubai from the UK and all parts of the world, and as problems just increase there, it's just going to grow exponentially, I think.
Yeah.
So I suspect, and I'm sure you agree, that demand's going to outstrip supply, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we still feel really excited to be here and very confident about the market. And I'm often asked, what is going to happen? And based on which news outlet you're reading or which podcast you're listening to, someone will tell you something different. And as you know, we're in such a sensationalist news landscape. People love a headline. But the reality is I still feel very confident about the traditional drivers of why you'd want to live here and why you'd want to put money here. And I don't really see much slowdown.
No, and I also see a lot more quantitative easing and an increase of the money supply over the next few years. The US debt burden just grows and grows and grows. The solution to that is printing more and more money. We're pegged to the dollar here, the US dollar. So they're going to have to create more dirhams. Where's that going to go? Some of it's going to go into property, I think.
Absolutely.
So in nominal terms, I can just see it going up further and further. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit, because you've done some projects with your husband, flipping property, and you've just sold in the Meadows, is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me, you told me earlier, but what percentage did you make on that?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so it was about 300% in the end on our home.
Over what period of time?
3 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So presumably you improved it.
We did. Actually, so that is me talking about sensationalist figure. 300% on what we paid. What we paid for it and what we sold it for, not taking into account the fact that we did do some home improvement in between.
But that's
not in the figure. Yeah,
a decent amount of profit there.
Yeah,
yeah. And have you done other ones as well?
Yeah, so we did. JVT was very good to us. Mm-hmm. So we purchased a JVT 2-bedroom villa just 2021. And sold that less than a year later, and we set the record in the community for that.
Wow.
And that was excellent, and that was about 60% profit in that time.
Yeah, and you've just moved to the Views.
So we're just living in a rental at the moment, but we're bought in the lakes. So we should be in, we're doing a full-scale renovation, and we should be in for Christmas, inshallah, as they say.
And will you look to flip that?
No, I've said no. The dangerous thing about working in an estate agency or working in a real estate business is, your ears are constantly pricked when you hear of someone coming in from out of town, needs a house today with a open checkbook. But no, this is a family home and we are.
Yeah, I'll get you back on in a couple of years.
I know, exactly.
and I bet it's been sold. Yeah, that's really good insights. Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
Not really, I don't think.
No, that was great. It's been great having you on today.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.